I got pregnant in my 3rd year with Cole Foster. I was so excited, clutching the ultrasound photo and ready to ask him to marry me, when a stream of pop-up comments flashed before my eyes. LOL, this cannon fodder Omega doesn't actually think the main alpha is going to marry him just because he's pregnant, does he? Cole only chose him to piss off our hero, the real heir. How has he not figured that out by now? Guess being spoiled your whole life really does make you an idiot. Who would marry a tool they only used to make their real partner jealous? If the main alpha finds out he's pregnant, he'll for sure have the baby cut out of him. Then let other alphas have their way with him until he's dead. Seeing those comments made me tremble. What was even more terrifying was that the phone I just tried calling 3 times with no answer was suddenly picked up. Cole's deep, cold voice came through. "What's wrong, baby?" I was in a meeting and didn't hear it ring. Sorry. As reserved and pretentious as ever. Normally, I'd make a couple of jokes to tease him. But now, my hand holding the phone was shaking like a leaf, and my voice trembled. And nothing, I misdialed. "Cole, you should get back to work. I won't bother you." The comments said that the one thing Cole Foster hated most in his life was illegitimate children. And even more, the idiotic lovers who tried to use them for leverage. If I told him I was pregnant today, Cole, with his connections on both sides of the law, would have someone get rid of the child and me along with it. It sounded unbelievable, but I'd seen Cole's brutal side before. That one time, he beat a man until his face was a bloody pulp, his arms and legs completely shattered. I'd stumbled into the basement by accident and almost threw up on the spot. In the end, it was Cole who wiped the blood off his hands, blindfolded me, and led me back upstairs. He had spoiled me for so many years, so much so that I'd nearly forgotten how nauseating that bloody scene was. Right now, I couldn't afford to take that gamble. Just as I was about to frantically hang up, Cole's displeased voice came through again. "Baby, what did you just call me?" The threatening tone in his voice sent another shiver down my spine. I took a deep breath and forced a placating, sweet tone. "Honey, you go on and get back to work. I don't want to interrupt your meeting." Cole grunted in satisfaction and finally hung up. He then transferred $300,000 to my account, telling me to go have some fun. After putting my phone away, I felt completely drained. I leaned back on the hospital bench, breaking out in a cold sweat. To be fair, Cole was a very, very good sponsor. 3 years ago, my family discovered I was the fake heir and furiously threw me out. My biological parents, however, had passed away. As the only Omega in the family, I'd been coddled my whole life and didn't know how to do anything. Besides my face, I was useless. The real heir, Julian, couldn't stand seeing me squatting by the front door every day trying to look pitiful. So he pretended to be kind and pointed me toward a new path. He said that, as a top-tier Omega, and being so beautiful, I was perfectly suited to be an escort. He took me to a high-end club and pointed to a group of middle-aged alphas. Just have a few drinks with them, and you can make a lot of money. As an Omega, I'd been sheltered my whole life and had rarely been to places like this. I really thought just drinking with them would earn me a lot of money, and I just kept grinning like an idiot, even telling Julian I'd split the earnings with him. I was so stupid back then. It wasn't until a pot-bellied alpha touched my waist and forced me to inhale his disgusting, heat-inducing pheromones that I realized this money wasn't so easy to make. My hand trembled, and I dropped my glass, covering my mouth and nose as I backed away. The moment I pulled the door open, I ran right into an S-class alpha. He had a gorgeous face, his pheromones were intoxicating, and his abs were rock hard. The greasy old man behind me was still trying to grab me, so I threw my arms around the alpha's waist, looked up with teary eyes, and begged him to take me away. Few people could resist my face. He was no exception. After dealing with that group of alphas in a matter of seconds, he carried me to the presidential suite on the top floor and placed me on the bed. And then, he turned to leave. My heat had been triggered, but I couldn't afford suppressants. I felt terrible all over. I scrambled off the bed and grabbed his leg just as he was about to step out the door. The moment he lifted me into his arms with one hand, I kissed him. The alpha froze completely. As I grew so desperate from the heat that I shamelessly started fumbling with his pants, he finally broke. And just like that, we spent the night together. When I woke up the next day, I was a mess. So this is what alphas are like. Total animals? My legs trembling, I pulled on my pants, ready to make a run for it. But the alpha woke up. Without even opening his eyes, he called out coldly, "Liam, you think you can just sleep with me and run?" How did he know my name? Was he an escort too? I scratched my head and stammered, "I am sorry, I don't have any money to pay you right now." The alpha chuckled. He sat up, looking at me with an equally stunning face, his long, fox-like eyes full of amusement. "I'm not short on cash." The air was silent for 10 seconds. Just as I was about to let my hormones get the best of me and ask, "Do you want to be my boyfriend?" he spoke at the same time, "Do you want to be with me?" I knew what be with me meant. It meant being like the young actor my alpha brother kept on the side. A kept man. Someone who could never be seen in public. But at that time, I didn't have a better option. So I went with Cole Foster. And I've been with him for 3 years now. In these 3 years, we've done everything a couple would do. I thought we were dating. That's why I was so excited when I found out I was pregnant. I thought we could finally get married and have a family as a natural next step. Until the pop-up comments appeared. They told me my entire existence was just to spite Julian. That Julian was Cole's future Omega, the one he truly loved. That's when I finally understood. Cole had never once mentioned a future with me in these 3 years. Because we never had one. The smell of disinfectant in the hospital was making me nauseous. I rubbed my tired eyes and took one last look at the ultrasound photo. This was our first child in 3 years. Given my poor constitution, it would probably be our last. Steeling myself, I tore it into tiny pieces and then scheduled an abortion. The comments immediately flared up in confusion. "No way. No way. Why is the cannon fodder getting an abortion? If he gets rid of it, how is the real heir supposed to get jealous, leading Cole to find out and then get all dominant and possessive? You stupid cannon fodder. Cancel that appointment right now and let the alpha take care of it." Huh? Are these people serious? I was so depressed. I sat alone in the park until sunset before heading home. The bedroom light was on. As soon as I pushed the door open, a pair of strong arms pulled me into an embrace, and his lips crashed down on mine without warning. A few seconds would have been fine, but after 5 minutes of kissing, I started to feel sick. I quickly covered my mouth and pushed him away. "Cole, stop kissing me." Cole's expression instantly turned cold. In the dim moonlight, he stared straight at me. A chill ran down my spine, and I quickly forced a placating smile. Honey, I'm not feeling well today. Is that why you went to the hospital today?" Cole didn't press me further. He pulled me onto the bed, held me from behind, and kissed my scent gland. "Where does it hurt?" I couldn't really smile anymore. He had me followed? But thankfully, they hadn't followed me all the way. I casually made up a story about a stomachache being nothing serious, and he didn't ask any more questions. He just rubbed my stomach like he was soothing a child and held me as we fell asleep. The comments called me a homewrecker all night. After thinking it over and over, I finally decided I would wait for Cole to bring up ending our arrangement himself. He had the whole city in the palm of his hand. Now there was no way I could escape him. And the comments mentioned that Julian was coming back to the country in a couple of days to stake his claim. At the latest, it would only be 3 months. Cole would abandon me and get entangled with his fated Omega, living happily ever after. In the middle of the night, my nose started to sting for some reason. So while the old psycho was fast asleep, I gave him a good kick. A muffled grunt came from beside me. The next morning, Cole was leaving for a business trip. A few of his guys were downstairs with some files, gossiping. Isn't this where the boss went to high school? It's his first love's hometown, too. You think he's heading back here for work and it's gonna bring back all those old memories of that girl? TSK, TSK. What are you guys blabbering about? Before I could get a closer look at the location, Spike, Cole's right-hand man, punched them and turned to me with a grin. "Ma'am, don't listen to them. They're just talking nonsense because they've got nothing better to do." I waved it off and turned to grab Cole in the living room, insisting on going with him on the trip. First love, the one that got away? Fine. Even if I'm leaving, I'm gonna find out how I ended up being the other man. We arrived in Southbridge. As expected, the comments immediately started reminiscing about their story. 7 years ago, Cole was framed by a homewrecker and kicked out of his family. His school registration was even transferred to this poor, remote town of Southbridge. Here, he met the self-reliant and resilient Julian. They developed feelings for each other while working part-time jobs, a bond forged in mutual hardship, but were ultimately forced to separate by college entrance exams. Cole, 2 years older, got into a top university and had to leave to reclaim his family fortune. Julian dropped out of school, was discovered to be the real heir, brought back home, and then sent abroad to study, where he remained until now. 3 years ago, Cole took me in only to spite Julian, who had stubbornly insisted on going abroad for his studies and abandoning him. Covered my eyes. I'd read too fast and got a face full of melodrama. Not feeling well, baby? The Cullinan came to a smooth stop at the school gate, and Cole touched my forehead. Thinking about all the little moments of the past 3 years that I had so wrongly cherished, I fought back my sense of grievance and looked up at him. Cole, is this where you met your first love? Is this place filled with precious memories of you and Julian getting to know and love each other? His hand, which had been stroking me, froze. He looked past me at the school behind us for a long moment, then a faint, nostalgic smile touched his lips. Yes. Even though I had prepared myself, I felt like I'd been struck by lightning. Everything the comments said was true. My mind was a complete mess. So much so that I didn't even hear what Cole was murmuring in my ear after we got out of the car. Cole was here to talk business. Apparently, a highly respected elder in the business world, feeling homesick, had built a villa in his old hometown to live in seclusion. Cole had invited him 3 times before he finally agreed to meet. Inside the private club, the air was thick with incense smoke. The smell made me feel a little sick, so I told Spike not to follow me and went to the restroom by myself. When I came out, feeling a bit better, I ran into 2 alphas. One of them looked familiar, his right hand was missing. The other one was slightly younger, his eyes raking over me, unable to look away. Well, if it isn't the Omega Mr. Jones sent me a picture of back in the day, the one who ended up with some big shot. I've been looking for you for a long time. I didn't expect you to go back to your old trade, working as an escort at this club. He took a step closer, reaching for me. Before I could even dodge, the other alpha with the missing hand grabbed his shoulder, his face pale with fear. Mr. Wallace, I'd advise you not to mess with him. His sponsor is... The alpha scoffed dismissively and pulled out a business card. He offered me 50 grand a month to be with him from now on. My contract with Cole was indeed ending soon, but I wasn't the same person I was before. Over the past 3 years, Cole had put me through college, paid for art classes, and personally taught me how to invest in the stock market. So even if Cole abandoned me, I wouldn't be reduced to being an escort again. I was about to refuse, but then the comments said, "Just say yes, you stupid cannon fodder. This is your best option. Even though he's not as handsome as the main alpha, and he's more than 10 years older than you, at least he can protect you. After Cole and the heir get together, he'll feel bad for the heir and come after you for occupying his happy life. If you don't find a new sponsor to protect you, you'll die without a proper burial." My blood ran cold. Cole would come after me? With extreme prejudice? I glanced at the empty sleeve of the man opposite me, and I think I knew who was responsible for that. Anyone who dared to mess with the people around him met a terrible end. Even for old grudges. Well, then I'll consider. As my trembling hand reached for the card, the back of my neck was suddenly grabbed. The scent of cold fur exploded from behind me, and I was forced to meet a pair of icy, menacing eyes. "Baby, what did you just say you'd consider?" The business card fluttered to the floor. My throat tightened, and my limbs felt as heavy as lead. But in the next second, a wave of nausea hit me, and I pushed him away, rushing into the bathroom to dry heave. When I came out, the 2 alphas from before were gone. Only Cole was left at the door, his face as dark as thunder. One look from him had me lowering my head and scurrying to follow. Inside the car, no one dared to breathe too loudly. It wasn't until the car stopped in front of a hospital that I jolted, jumping up and hugging the seat. "I'm not going in." "No." Cole frowned. Then why were you throwing up just now? It's just my stomach acting up again. I don't want to get another endoscopy, honey? I looked up, blinking my teary eyes at him frantically. Cole couldn't win against my stubborn tantrum, so we went home. But he gave me the silent treatment. No biting my scent gland, no sleeping next to me, not a single word to me all day. Spike, who had been tormented by Cole into getting dark circles under his eyes, took advantage of a meeting to unload on me in a torrent of words. Ma'am, why'd you even think about taking that card? It broke the boss's heart and made life hell for us grunts. He's been so busy with the company lately, but he still went to all this trouble to find that master investor to help you put on a gallery show, and he even took care of that ex-con uncle of yours who just got out of prison. But you were thinking of cheating on him behind his back. I froze, my hands still in the middle of making coffee. I had casually mentioned wanting to have an art show a while back, and Cole was actually planning to invest in it and even found a master to help? And that jailbird uncle who had been harassing me for money every day, Cole knew about him, too? Just as I was about to cry from being so touched, the comments popped up again. You idiot, he's setting up the art show to distract you, and he got rid of the ex-con for the sake of his precious heir who's about to return. What does any of that have to do with you? This pisses me off. How is he getting credit for all the things Cole is doing for the young heir? All right, I knew it. Cole Foster, you dog. But after handing the coffee to Spike, I tearfully promised to put in a good word for them tonight. Spike's whole body shuddered. Ma'am, I wasn't blaming you. I didn't make you cry. Nope. Haha. He scurried off before he could finish. I was still trying to figure out how to appease Cole. That evening, I got a message that Julian had returned to the country. Cole also claimed to have something to do and wouldn't be home tonight. The comments immediately erupted in cheers. Here we go, here we go. The long-awaited reunion after 3 years. The boss totally went to the airport to pick him up. Ah, look at that huge welcome at the airport. Our boss is really playing out the whole red-eyed, waist-grabbing trope. The heir is so lucky, he has his lover and his parents. Not like someone else who has no family and is left all alone in an empty house. Me, oh. Cole only left me his cold, hard cash. How pitiful. You stupid cannon fodder homewrecker. Get out of the Foster house and make way. If it weren't for this third will he hasn't dealt with yet, the boss and the heir wouldn't have to go to a hotel to do their business. Hold up. They're moving that fast. I was furious. So disgusted I felt sick. I immediately packed up all the gifts Cole had given me over the years and contacted a friend in the business to sell them off. Haute couture, luxury items, a supercar, a villa. The only thing I couldn't bring myself to sell was the $3 million watch on my wrist. I didn't dare sell it. Whoa, Liam, did you finally see the light and decide to ditch that old man? Chase's surprised voice came over the phone. He was a beta I met in art class. His family was pretty well off and he had an alpha brother my age. The first time we met, Chase tried to set me up with his brother. When Cole found out, he secretly made trouble for their family's company several times. Chase had held a grudge ever since, so he couldn't stand Cole. I choked out a yeah and then got to the point. Chase, you said before that your brother is involved in the underworld. Is that true? Chase didn't hesitate. Absolutely. He's a big shot overseas, super rich and powerful. And he's well endowed, a great performer, good looking too. I'm not looking for a new alpha right now. I cut off Chase's sales pitch. But I'd like to discuss a business deal with him. The day after Julian returned, my adoptive parents, who hadn't contacted me in years, gave me a call. They said Julian was having a welcome home party that night and they hoped I would come back to the old mansion. It had been 3 years since they kicked me out. They were ashamed that I had become some sponsor's kept lover, and this was the first time they had reached out. I glanced down at my 9-figure bank balance and decided to use some of it to go. I consider it repayment for raising me. The welcome home party was a lively affair. Many of the socialites and scions from our circle were there, mingling and clinking glasses. I figured Cole would definitely show up later. I lowered my wandering gaze, grabbed a glass of champagne, and found a quiet corner to wait. Once my adoptive parents were done with Julian's party, I would give them the money. But the banquet had just begun. A group of rich young alphas cornered me. Well, look here. The fake heir who became an escort for someone else? They loomed over me, casting a shadow that enveloped me completely. I looked up and scanned the area. No cameras. All the guests were gathered around the champagne tower. No one would notice this inconspicuous corner. I tightened my grip on the champagne glass and looked up at them with a smile. Can I help you with something? The young masters raised their eyebrows. We heard you stole Julian's identity, and then you stole his alpha and became his lover? You wouldn't. Before he could finish, I threw the contents of my glass in his face. I quickly pushed past them and tried to run, but with 8 hands against me, I was no match. They dragged me back. Damn you, you little bitch. A loud slap landed across my face. But the banquet hall was noisy, and the sound of the music drowned out the sound of the assault. A chaotic mix of alpha pheromones began to fill the air. They ignored my struggles, their taunts washing over me. Haha, this used-up rag has probably been with countless alphas, and he's still pretending to be pure. How pathetic is that? The surrounding pheromones were so thick I could barely breathe. Through a gap in the crowd, I saw a familiar figure and was about to call for help when the sound caught in my throat. Standing next to Cole was Julian, the center of everyone's attention. He turned, smiled at me, and blocked Cole's view just as he was about to glance in my direction. I had already guessed why my adoptive parents called me here tonight. The comments confirmed my suspicions. He stole 20 years of a wealthy life and someone's husband. So what's wrong with him getting taught a lesson? I support the heir getting people to put this imposter in his place. Yeah, this pretty boy beneficiary. Why is he acting so innocent? I'd advise him not to scream for help. The boss won't pay him any mind. I wasn't expecting Cole to save me anyway. The alphas spewed their vicious assumptions at me, informing me that once the banquet was over, they would take me away and take turns with me. The hell are you smiling about? They noticed my strange expression and finally remembered to check for something important. Yes, my phone. I was on the phone with Chase when they approached, and I had just shoved it in my pocket before confronting them. By now, Chase would have already recorded everything and called the police. When they pulled out my phone, they were met with a stream of curses. In 3 minutes, the police, who had received the recording, would arrive to arrest this gang of would-be rapists. The brainless alphas were furious. One raised his hand to slap me again, but this time it never landed. A wine bottle shattered against the back of his head. The alpha dazedly touched the blood, and in the next second, the overwhelming scent of cold fur pressed down on him. In the face of an S-class alpha's absolute authority, he fell to his knees. Every alpha in the area winced in discomfort. But seeing who it was, and seeing the terrifying look on his face, no one dared to speak. Cole's eyes were red when he picked me up. When he saw my handsome but swollen right cheek, he choked up, his voice raspy. I'm sorry, I'm late. Curled in his arms, I saw Julian clenching his fists. The comments said that Cole only saved me because he and Julian had a fight, and I was just a pawn in their lovers' quarrel. I laughed. Oh, a pawn in their game, am I? Watch this green tea drama queen drive Julian absolutely insane. I hugged Cole tighter, buried my face in his chest, and started bawling my eyes out, wailing about how much it hurt and how miserable I was. They said they were going to gang rape me, and after that, they were going to dismember me and throw the pieces into the ocean. Boo-hoo. Cole. My face hurts so much. Won't someone stand up for me? Sniffle. My theatrics threw the entire venue into chaos. My adoptive parents rushed over to scold me but were shoved aside by Cole, who then landed a few vicious kicks on the group of alphas. Worried about jostling me, he simply turned to Spike and gave a cold command. When the police released them, round them all up and throw them in the basement. As we left, I saw Julian's face had gone completely pale. I stuck my tongue out at him and the comments. Then, as Cole released calming pheromones, I pretended to be pitiful and snuggled deeper into his arms. I'm just a natural-born actor. After going to the hospital for a checkup and getting a suppressant shot. Cole's mood was dark. I belatedly became afraid that he'd deal with me later, so I shrank into the corner of the back seat, suddenly deflated. The ride was silent. I kicked at loose pebbles on the way to the door, head down. Just as I was on my 100th survival plan, Cole grabbed me. He pinned me against the door and, without a word, bit down on my scent gland. It was almost vengeful, the way he pumped it full of his thick pheromones. He didn't let go until I was completely covered in the scent of cold fur. He led me to the bedroom, where a box with a small green grape cake sat on the table. It was from my favorite bakery, the one that was always sold out. He opened the package and personally cut a piece, holding the spoon to my lips. His tone was unusually gentle. Truce? Okay, baby? I froze for a second. This was how he would appease me after being too rough in bed. Was he doing this now because he was afraid I'd run off too soon, and there'd be no one left to be a pawn in their game? The sense of grievance I had suppressed instantly rushed back. I rubbed my stinging eyes, took a big bite, and started wolfing it down. Cole chuckled, ruffling the back of my neck like I was a pet. Slow down. No one's going to steal it from you. Like a beagle, I wanted to argue with him through teary, indignant eyes. But before I could swallow a mouthful of cream, I had to cover my mouth and run to the bathroom. It was too rich. I wanted to throw up but couldn't, just dry heaving over and over. Cole stood by, handing me water and pulling out his phone to call his private doctor. But I stopped him. He paused. He lifted his deep, cold eyes and stared at me. Liam, are you pregnant? The air instantly froze. A shiver ran down my spine. I reacted instantly, jumping up and shaking my head frantically. How could I be pregnant? Honey, don't you remember? The doctor said my constitution is poor, that there's a 90% chance I'm infertile. Pregnant with what, an egg? Haha. A flicker of doubt crossed Cole's face but vanished just as quickly. He nodded. You're right. My physical exam back then had been confirmed by both traditional and Western doctors. I would have a very hard time getting pregnant. Even as a top-tier omega, my reproductive functions were no better than a low-grade one. That's why for the past 3 years, he had never used protection, spending night after night inside my reproductive cavity. Cole didn't overthink it. He watched me take a bunch of pills, vitamins I passed off as stomach medicine, and then held me as we slept. He never forced himself on me when I was sick. Taking advantage of his good mood, I even put in a few good words for Spike. Cole bit my scent gland gently and grunted in agreement. The next day, I woke up around noon. As soon as I came downstairs, Spike bounced in front of me, excitedly telling me that Cole had already granted a general pardon at the company. He had also been assigned to me as an assistant for my art exhibition. Ma'am, you and the boss have to stay on good terms from now on, no more fighting, Spike obsequiously massaged my shoulders, and I gave a bitter smile, rubbing my forehead. There definitely won't be any more fights. Because, little old me, I won't be your ma'am for much longer. The commercial art exhibition was a great success. With a master artist in attendance, the gallery was packed. Cole wanted to help me sell my paintings at a high price, but I knew my own limitations. Pricing them too high would just look like money laundering. So I quietly changed the prices. Chase also came by, and when he saw what I did, he smacked me on the head, frustrated. You're about to leave, and you're still trying to save face for that old man? Most of the people buying your art are here because of Cole anyway. You should be using this chance to rake in as much cash as you can for your getaway. I thought he had a point, but maybe I'm just a masochist. I still didn't want to cause trouble for Cole. I kept the prices low until the afternoon. For alphas with mangled hands, broken limbs, and swollen faces pushed open the door, insisting on buying the paintings at 500 times the original price. Paintings that were originally priced at a few $100s, they paid millions for. One of them was mute and even knelt, begging me to sell. Although their faces were swollen beyond recognition, I still recognized them. They were the young masters from the welcome home party. The alpha who had been the most talkative now had no tongue. Buying the paintings, I presumed, was Cole's final punishment for them. I sold the art as they requested. After seeing them off, Chase excitedly counted the money. Perhaps I should have been happy that Cole got revenge for me. But right then, a chill ran down my spine. I couldn't bring myself to smile. And after seeing the comments scrolling before my eyes, my stomach churned, and I threw up until I thought I'd see stars. As if my vision wasn't already going dark from nausea, the comments kept scrolling relentlessly. Here it comes, here it comes. The drugging and forced love scene I've been waiting for is finally here. The boss is in his rut tonight, they're gonna be going at it again, ha ha ha. Doesn't anyone else think what the heir is doing is a bit evil? Come on, the alpha and the cannon fodder haven't even broken up yet. And the alpha is a real piece of work, fooling around outside. If you don't like it, then get out. The tags clearly said forced love. Did you click on this just to complain? He's just cannon fodder anyway. His ending is probably going to be even worse than those alphas just now. My hand trembled as I took the water Chase handed me, and I averted my eyes. Seeing how pale I was, he sent me home early. Outside, dark clouds pressed down, making it hard to breathe. Actually, Julian had come to see me yesterday. He said the same things as the comments, that he knew Cole better than I did. He advised me to leave Cole as soon as possible, before Cole grew to despise me. The pop-up comments, which I couldn't get out of my head, continued into the night. I huddled under the covers, trembling, forced to watch 101 different ways I could die horribly. A few flashes of lightning, followed by a click. The door opened. The footsteps were Cole's. But for some reason, the smell of blood hit me, so strong I couldn't tell if it was rain or blood dripping, or whose blood it was. Baby, come out. Cole's voice was hoarse, like a starving beast lurking in the stormy night, ready to pounce and tear its prey to shreds. Thinking of the comments, I didn't dare move. When the covers were forcefully ripped away, I trembled violently. An overwhelmingly oppressive scent of fur dominated my senses. Cole's brow furrowed. He grabbed my cheeks with a blood-streaked, vein-covered arm, forcing me to meet his gaze. Baby, are you afraid of me? Tears streamed down my face. His pheromones had scared me to tears, but I still shook my head desperately, opening my mouth to try and explain. But before I could speak, his lips crashed down on mine. He didn't act at all like someone who had just been with another Omega. His kiss was urgent and frantic. At least he wasn't trying to kill me. My breathing grew ragged. For a moment, my senses returned. A flash of lightning outside the window illuminated his arm. Cole, you're hurt. It's fine. I won't die. The alpha, deep in his rut, bit my scent gland again, roughly this time. After flooding me with pheromones, he buried his face in my neck and coaxed, "Take it off." The powerful, invasive pheromones compelled me to obey. As he worked me over until I was limp and breathless, a thought drifted through my days. The baby in my belly, will it also be fine? Won't it die? I'm so pissed. Why did the boss fight with the young heir again and come home to use this substitute to sleep with? Don't get cocky, cannon fodder. The boss is just out of his mind from his rut tonight. When he comes to his senses, he'll feel dirty and regret it so much he'll want to kill you. So I was just a substitute? When he called me baby, who was he really talking to? Tears, like strings of pearls, started falling uncontrollably. Cole paused. Why are you crying again? The hand on my waist moved up to wipe my tears, but I stubbornly turned my face away. Get out. Did I hurt you? I'll be gentler. Cole, I hate you. He thought I was being playful and kissed my tears away with a smile. Fine. Then I'll keep going until baby says he loves me. I don't remember how those 3 days ended. I passed out, woke up, and passed out again. My reproductive cavity wasn't battered enough to cause a miscarriage. I guess this baby is lucky. On the 4th night, while Cole was still holding me and sleeping soundly, I struggled free and got up. The comments said that once Cole came to his senses, he would kill me. To save my own life, I gave myself a few shots of adrenaline and frantically packed my bags to run. I had never even used those luxury cars, so they'd been converted to cash a while ago without Cole ever noticing. So aside from money, I had very little to pack. As I was dragging my suitcase out of the villa, I got a text from the hospital. The abortion I had scheduled last month had been postponed to tomorrow. It was my last chance to delay it. I took one last look at Cole. I tucked him in, then turned and left for the hospital. After being drugged and then hit by his rut, Cole didn't wake up until the middle of the next night. He was jolted awake by a gruesome, bloody nightmare. He instinctively reached for the person beside him, but he grabbed at empty, cold sheets. Rain dripped from the terrace outside. The air grew icy, the chill seeping into his bones. At 3 in the morning, Cole woke a sleeping Spike and sent out dozens of his most trusted men to search the city. He blew up Liam's phone, but it was always turned off. He checked every place Liam might have gone. Nothing. Finally, Spike handed him a folder, trembling like a quail. He explained, "Boss, Liam found out he was pregnant last month and..." Crack. The glass ashtray, full of cigarette butts, shattered at Spike's feet. Cole looked up in disbelief, his words slow and deliberate. "What did you say?" Spike took a deep breath, looking like a soldier marching to his execution, and shouted with all his might, "Liam is pregnant." He used a friend's ID to schedule an abortion at the city center hospital, converted all his assets to cash, and ran off with the money and the baby. "Boss, my condolences." Cole closed his eyes. The fury in his eyes didn't lessen even as he ground his teeth, but he stubbornly corrected him. "What do you mean, ran off? He's just playing around and got lost. Find him. Keep looking. Offer a $3 million reward. Dig up the whole damn city if you have to. But you will find him for me." At the hospital entrance, a scruffy, limping, middle-aged man was clinging to my leg like gum on a shoe, refusing to let go. He yelled, "Liam, your ex is the one who did this to me. You either take me abroad with you and support me, or you come back with me and we split the $3 million reward." He was shaking me so hard my head was spinning. It had been 2 days. My ex-con uncle, upon learning I had left Cole, had been clinging to me relentlessly for 2 whole days. Chase told me to just get rid of him, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. But if I didn't leave now, it would be too late. My head was throbbing. Just as I was about to give in and agree to take him, something small hit my foot. My uncle, Gene, was hit in the back of the head and roared as he turned around. But when he saw who it was, he instantly shriveled up like a quail. My eyes met that same gaze, and my pupils contracted. I turned to run, but the entire hospital was instantly surrounded. Gene, trying to crawl away, had a gun pressed to his head and couldn't move. Cole, radiating an Arctic chill, advanced on me step by step, his dark gaze seemingly nailed to me. He spoke coldly. "Liam, I know you're pregnant. Come back." My hands were shaking even more. I had expected Cole to find out about the pregnancy, but I never imagined he could find me this fast. I thought I'd at least make it overseas, under the protection of Chase's gangster brother, before he came after me. Remembering the descriptions of my death that the comments had been spamming for days, my heart filled with despair. So, as Cole closed in and raised his hand to grab me, I whipped out a sharp knife and held it to my own throat. "One more step and I'll do it, Cole." The comments said that in his eyes, such an easy death would be getting off too lightly. He wouldn't let me die so simply, and so, a crack appeared on Cole's usually composed, cold face. He panicked, ordering everyone else back as he froze in place. Meeting his grief-stricken eyes, I let out a cold, tear-streaked laugh. "I've been with you for 3 years. Just do me a favor and let me go, Cole. Please? I promise I'll never bother you two again. I'll never appear in your lives. Ever. I'll be as quiet as if I were dead." Cole froze. The pained look on his face vanished, replaced by deep confusion. "What are you talking about, Liam? Bother us? Who is us? What kind of nonsense have you been listening to?" Before he could finish, a reckless Omega squeezed through the crowd and hooked his arm through Cole's, mumbling, finally seeing sense and believing the system. Looking at Julian, Cole froze again. He looked from Julian to my mocking expression, and after 3 seconds, he swiftly drew his gun, putting a violent end to Julian's sentence. The scene devolved into chaos. Cole shoved Julian, who was now clutching his wounded right arm, and tried to explain something to me, but Julian desperately clung to him. Clutching the knife, I scrambled backward. As I reached the edge of the crowd, an alpha grabbed me by the collar and whisked me away in the confusion. On the private jet, Chase was sighing dramatically. After hearing the story of Cole and Julian, he regretted not letting his brother, Sean, fight his way through the crowd and go head-to-head with Cole. Sean, polishing a shiny handgun, nodded in agreement. I broke out in a cold sweat. Thank God we got away quickly. I didn't want those two to start a bloodbath. The police station was just a block away from the hospital. But thanks, you guys. We only got away smoothly today because of your foresight, Chase. According to the original plan, I had only hired Sean as a bodyguard overseas. They were supposed to meet me there. Chase waved it off, then asked, "You said Cole loves Julian so much, so why was he willing to shoot him today?" I glanced at the stream of vitriolic comments. They were all complaining about the plot derailing. No one had an explanation. Their focus had finally shifted from how will Cole kill me to just how out of character can Cole possibly get. I looked away. I busied myself reading through the prenatal care instructions the doctor had sent me and ignored them. That night I left the foster villa. I sat in the abortion clinic all night. I really had planned to have the procedure as soon as the doctor came in, but when it was my turn, my feet felt rooted to the spot. Hesitation and a sour feeling filled my heart. I admit it, when the doctor said, "You will most likely never be able to have children again," I softened. That one moment of weakness made me give up on the procedure. It's just a baby. What's so hard about raising one? Even without an alpha father, modern medicine could provide what's needed, and they wouldn't lack for money or love. I decided to raise the child on my own. After landing in Monaco, the mess back home died down for a while. The comments went silent, too. I rested in the apartment I'd prepared in advance. To keep me safe, Sean and his crew lived next door. They would follow me whenever I went out to sketch. Chase was the same as ever. He was always trying to push Sean on me, acting as our wingman. My refusals had no effect, and Sean's face was getting darker by the day. One weekend, I was dragged out to a movie. After Chase accidentally pushed Sean next to me one too many times, Sean finally snapped. He left one of his guys with me and dragged Chase outside. The next day, Sean walked out of Chase's bedroom. I froze. "You two slept together." My eyes widened. "But we're not related." Sean raised an eyebrow, his expression nonchalant. "Now my brother won't be able to say that alphas and omegas are a match made in heaven anymore." That night, Chase flew back home in a rage. I'd been abroad for 2 weeks, and Cole wasn't as crazy as I'd imagined. In fact, there was no sign he was even looking for me. Perhaps they were already living the happy life the comments described. A flicker of disappointment crossed my mind, but I gradually let my guard down. The next day, I went out sketching with only Sean. The wind by the lake was strong, and it made me sneeze. Sean, ever the gentleman, handed me a jacket. I smiled politely and looked up to thank him, but a bullet whizzed past his hand, stopping our contact. I froze on the spot. Stiffly, I turned my head and saw Cole, his eyes as cold as iron, dragging a half-dead Julian and throwing him to the ground. "Liam, is this the man you were talking about? My first love, my future partner?" He pressed the muzzle of his gun to Julian's head and demanded, almost hysterically, "If I kill him with my own hands, will you finally believe that I love you, and not him?" I frantically tried to stop Cole, but the long-absent comments erupted. "WTF, what is this garbage plot? I thought this was a sweet romance. The main alpha is treating the love interest like this. Can this story even have a happy ending? The alpha will definitely have to grovel and win him back later. He only says he loves this imposter now because he's bewitched. He'll probably kill him one day. I'd kill all of you before I ever laid a hand on him." Cole suddenly glared at the lines of text in the air, his anger boiling over. He fired a shot at them, then turned back to me, his voice choked with emotion. "Baby, I know what you've been seeing lately, but it's all a misunderstanding. Can we just talk, please?" My mind went blank for a second. He knew everything? Talk, could we? Just as I was about to agree, Sean stepped in front of me, warning, "Don't go over there." Cole's eyes darkened, but he didn't force the issue. He gestured, and one of his men brought someone out, making Sean's face change drastically. It was the foul-mouthed Chase. He screamed at Sean not to worry about him, but just not to hand a love-struck idiot like me over. Cole ignored his cursing and coolly ordered Spike, "Go. Shut his mouth for him. With your own." Everyone present froze. Spike panicked. "Be boss, I like omegas." "Can't. You'll get a raise." Spike immediately turned around. Seeing that Spike was really gonna kiss him, Sean lost his cool before I did. "Stop." He loosened his grip on my arm, which was already red, and asked through gritted teeth, "You promise you won't hurt him?" Cole sneered. "Would you hurt your own wife?" Sean let go, and I was pulled into a familiar embrace, the scent of cold fur surrounding me. Perhaps it was the pheromones. The moment Cole held me tight, tears started to fall uncontrollably. Cole took me back to his villa in Monaco. There, I met the master he had mentioned, a mysterious person who could draw talismans to help him see and even banish the pop-up comments. Before banishing the vicious comments, Cole first explained all the previous misunderstandings. Every time he met with Julian, it wasn't a secret rendezvous, but an act of revenge. The airport confrontation was payback for Julian almost tricking me 3 years ago, and their later meetings were revenge for the humiliation I suffered at the welcome home party. Julian's trip abroad 3 years ago was just to lie low. He has a system. The system told him that he and I are the main characters, destined to be together, so he's been clinging to me since high school, but I never once agreed. If I had known his existence would cause you so much misunderstanding, I would never have let him stick around. But Liam, I told you clearly a long time ago, you are my first love. I love you. Meeting his gaze, which looked more wronged than a falsely accused widow, I swallowed guiltily. When did you say that? The first time you asked me if Southbridge was where I met my first love. That time, I had been so lost in the pain of being a third wheel and a substitute that I hadn't paid any attention to what he was reminiscing about. Guilt and self-blame washed over me. I fidgeted with the hem of my shirt and lowered my head. "I'm sorry." Cole didn't hold my recent chaotic behavior against me. He took my hand, gently uncurled my fingers, and slipped something cold onto my ring finger. "I didn't mention dating before because I was afraid you'd reject me outright. I was hoping love would grow over time." He knelt on one knee and kissed the back of my hand, now adorned with the ring. "So now, can you believe that I will love you properly?" The day the comments were banished, they exploded in a flurry of text. Hold up, so I was shipping the wrong couple this whole time? So when they went to the hotel, it wasn't to sleep together, it was to actually fight? Looks like it was too bloody and violent, so they censored it, which made us misunderstand. Damn it. Why does this cannon fodder get everything? I thought he was supposed to be the universally hated, tragic contrast character. The description doesn't match the story at all. This is insane. I looked away. What was even more insane was that the master was about to cook them into a stew. The night we returned home, Cole personally cooked a huge meal. Steamed crab, hawthorn, and brown sugar porridge, postpartum recovery soup. He even picked up a bowl and held a spoonful to my lips. My jaw dropped. "Cole, he really doesn't want the baby." But Cole paused his feeding motion, suddenly put the bowl down, and hugged me. His voice choked. "If the baby's gone, we can always have another one later. It's okay." Did you even listen to Spike's investigation report carefully? To be honest, I couldn't bear to hear much of it. What do you mean? This entire table is filled with things the doctor specifically said pregnant people should avoid. I cupped his face, feigning hurt. Or is it that you don't want this baby at all, honey, and you want to MMMPH? He silenced me with a kiss and pressed his hand against my lower abdomen. He only pulled back, stunned, when he felt the life stirring inside. "So, you didn't get rid of it that day?" "Nope. Congratulations, Mr. Foster. You finally get to be a real dad."